Hello fellow pilots, I'm Major Payne and this is next episode How to Play. In this one we'll talk about Arsenal VB10, which is a heavy fighter premium plane tier 7 in European tech tree. In this European tech tree this is actually as a French plane, but you can change the nationality of this plane to another nation, and thanks to that you can train as well another nation pilot, which is great. At the moment when I'm doing this video, this plane is available in a set of the missions, so if you can accomplish those missions, you have enough time, you can get this plane for free. So yeah, I'm always saying that any premium plane for free is good, but before we get into the details of this plane, how it's performed and compared to other heavy fighters, let's get into the history. 7 July 1945, first flight took place. Designing was actually started in 1937, so even before the war. In the beginning they was planning to have this plane made from wood, but in the end they go for full metal design, and actually French government make an order after the war for 200 of these machines, but after deliver 4 of them they just cancel rest of the order, and it's simply just because of jet power, and French Air Force rely on supply British and American fighters. And interesting here is as well that this plane actually have 2 engines, one on the front, one just behind the canopy, and you can see it in the game as well. Yeah, one exhaust on the front of the plane here, and second exhaust of second engine behind the canopy. And as well, of course, you can see clearly 2 propellers on the front, so that gives you some idea that this plane have 2 engines. Now, in fact, any other heavy fighter in the game have 2 engine. Only one have 2 engine in line. Japanese tier 7 premium heavy fighter have 2 engines and 2 separate propellers, not being together. But this is kind of beneficial to you, like you can, if you get hit in the one of the engine, you can still maintain the speed, which is important. For example, if you go slow and low, like after ground attacker, for example, and if the ground attacker with his tail gunner knock out one of the engine, you can still maintain the speed and altitude. It has actually happened to me that I had both engines knocked out simultaneously, but this is very rare, usually not happening. Usually you can have one engine damage, other working, and you can maintain the speed and fly. Okay, now let's compare this plane to other heavy fighters of its tier. We have 8 aircraft here, and Arsenal VV10, as you can see, gun armament 40 points on the scale, survivability 12, which is 400 HP, airspeed 63 points on the scale, top speed 680 km per hour and 850 in a dive, so it's very similar to most of the heavy fighter on its tier. Now let's focus on a good thing, which is maneuverability. In this plane it says 42 points on the scale, and average turn time 13.5, which is the second best in class. The only one heavy fighter have better maneuverability, and this is American Fisher XP75 Eagle. He have slightly better maneuverability, 13.1 second average turn time, which is better of course, but it's literally gonna take half an hour to close in on your tail when you get into dogfight with this. So all you need to do when you have a fight with this plane, then just ask for help of your teammate or even bot from your team. Just press F7 and you literally have good amount of time for your team to come in and help you. So yeah, one more thing, I need to correct myself here. Fisher XP75, it's actually the one which have 1 engine. So this plane have 1 engine, he have 2 propellers driven by this engine, but this is long story for another video now, but I had to correct myself here. Now let's get back to the gun armament. BF109Z, it says that it has 42 points on the scale, so it's slightly better. So we shouldn't go head on with it, specifically that this plane can have 4 30mm cannons. It's a matter of configuration. Some people will take 220 and 230s, some 430s and so on, you know, but still it's just too powerful to go head on. Even if he has slightly less HP, actually he have the worst HP pool from all heavy fighter on tier 7. Now, Tupolev 2-1 is not a plane which you can buy in a premium store or in a game. It's a special reward for some events, probably. I don't know, but I did see them in a game, and they happen to be from time to time, and they just simply overpower. They have huge amount of firepower, 49 points on the scale, which is a second in class. So 245mm cannons and 223mm cannons, which they are deadly for us. Range and firepower, just big no-no to go head-on. Plus, one more thing is 700 hit points, so it's the best, absolutely amazing in a class. So Key 94E, 51 points on the scale. I actually have this plane specialized, and he have like two 37mm cannon and two 30mm cannon. There's no way we can go head-on with this. We should go straight in turn fight, the same with Tupolev and the same with BF-109Z. There is no other way we can deal with them. Head-on usually mean or we get killed or we both get killed at best scenario. Now, let's get into the Key 93, which is in actually tech tree. I have it in my hangar, so let's go there because it's actually tricky. It says 34 points on the scale, but this is misleading. It's not the case. Now let's take a look on my hangar. Yeah, so as you can see, this is a huge cannon here underneath, and this is 57mm cannon, and the problem here is the range. Effective range is 1500 meters, so this plane will be able to put those rounds on us like way before we get into our effective range of fire. So he will definitely, most of the cases, he will win the head-on engagement for sure. He would have to be really like blind sniper and missed all those shots to not win this. Yeah, so if we see this, never go head on, do some defensive maneuvers and get in turn fight. He has slightly less maneuverability capabilities, so it's a trick. The same thing, like if we get in turn fight, that's gonna literally take a huge amount of time, and he can ask for help, and someone will come in and help to take us out before we get into his tail. Now, three other heavy fighters: the Havilland Hornet, F7F American heavy fighter, and XP-75 Eagle have less firepower, but it's still not such a big difference. We most likely will win the head-on engagement, but I wouldn't really go if this is absolutely not necessary. Like plus those two have more HP points. So we have 400, and the Hornet have 500. F7F have actually 550. So it is actually making a difference, and you have to take that into the account. Yeah, and the only plane we should actually go head on is XP-75 because he have better maneuverability and less firepower. He have 10 of these heavy machine guns, 12.7. We have the 6 of them, but we have 4 20mm cannons, so we will like damage him before he even get into the effective range of his machine guns. So we should use that, but it's still like, you know, uncertainty in this engagement. So technically, making things simple, the firepower in this plane isn't great, even if it's looked like. It's only good for targeting maneuverable fighters or multi-role fighters because it's much easier to put 20mm cannons and heavy machine guns on the target than heavy cannons. So it's much easier to aim and take out the light fighters. So that's what we should focus on. But if I'm not convincing you, just take a look what can tier 6 actually do to you. I hope I'm gonna save you some bad experience. And if you think that the firepower is a problem for this plane, you're wrong. Let's go into the speed and altitude performance. So here we go, small test. We use 20 degrees angle and we're climbing with full boost on. I use 3 planes for that. We're fully specialized for speed, and as you can see, our plane performed poorly. And what you need to know here that VB10 actually have the best boost, I mean the longest boost, but in the same time he have the worst climb rate from all other fighters, heavy fighters on its tier, and it's actually 68 meters per second. It's a basic without any, if it's not specialized, of course. Altitude performance are not actually great as well. Optimum altitude performance is 1800 meters, so it's in those range of lowest. There's few other heavy fighters which have the same, but none of other heavy fighters have actually so poor climb rate. So that's the biggest problem of this plane. You can't use your altitude to escape. Like you see this BF-109Z, how well he performed over 700 km per hour on, like, they all have less boost, but so what? They still can gain extra distance from the enemy, and they can, if you not take out the whatever light fighter or multi-role fighter or even heavy fighter, enemy heavy fighter, you can escape like this up and use your boost and then turn around and finish the job. But this is not something what you can do in VB10. So we know that climbing rate is terrible, but speed is not much better. So if you would like to compare this plane with another heavy fighter, there are actually two heavy fighters which have less speed. Our top speed, basically with no specialization, is 680 km per hour, but there are two other heavy fighters like Tupolev Tu-1 and the Japanese KE-93 from Tech Tree. They both are slower, but they have tail gunner. They can still, trying to escape and keep firing at the enemy. So this is something what they get in return. Like, it's not bad, but they have superior firepower first and first, and then they have those tail gunners, so they can attack the light aircraft and then finish off with tail gunner if they not manage to do it in the first run. But this is something what you cannot do, and yeah, just as you can see now here on this example here, the light fighter catch up with us and they simply eventually kill us. It's really hard to escape from this German light fighter or American P-51 Mustangs, for example. They have long boost, they have very good speed, and specifically very good altitude performance, basically better than ours. So it's really hard to get rid of that kind of enemy. So if we not manage to kill him in the first run, if it's a human player, good player, that simply does mean we are dead, because he's gonna go after us and he will keep up with us for long enough to take us out. Another problem which is related to all of the tier 7 planes is matchmaking. So I was counting my battles and I noticed that on 6 battles I had only one on tier 7. So tier 7 with tier 7 and tier 6. So 5 of those battles was played against tier 8 planes. So it is a problem, because difference between tier 7 and tier 8 are huge. Like for example, tail gunners on ground attackers or bombers on up to tier 7, they mainly are machine guns or heavy machine guns, but from tier 8 most of the planes, I guess, if it's not all, have actually cannons. So this is a big difference in like damage per second and that stuff, so this is a huge problem. HP and damage per second, all this, it's a big difference. Like, it's not the same if you, for example, take the tier 6 heavy fighter and you play and you happen to play with tier 7 bombers or ground attackers, you still are very capable heavy fighter and can impact the game a lot. Like for example, Emi 410 or any other heavy fighter have big impact. But in here, like, this actually, now what you see, it's a big mistake. Like, never even try to get close to this B29C. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's absolutely crazy. You can't even get away from it. Like, he's simply kill you. So powerful. It's actually overpowered bomber, but that's different topic now. Basically, if you play with tier 8, try to avoid any bomber, specifically human one, because it's just a waste of your time, and literally you be wasting time to trying to get them down, but you're not going to be impacting the game, basically, because if it's a human player in any RB17 or B29C or any other bomber and he pay attention to the minimap, he see you coming, so he's going to sit down on his tail gunner, and that's what's going to happen. You see, you can just simply try to survive. Or I'm actually here fighting for my life in this plane, after this attempt to attack this B-29C. I cannot even get close enough, So it's just your altitude performance, your climb rate, and firepower not allowed you to engage the bombers. But as you can see, I'm very stubborn here, and I'm going after this B-29C. But as you can see, it's a suicide mission, so I not recommend that. So in general, let's sum up all this. So we have planes which have very good maneuverability and can use that maneuverability against tier 7 heavy fighters, most of them. Firepower is good, but it's not something what we can rely in an engagement with other heavy fighters. Even some multi-role fighters will have better firepower, like FW-190, very powerful plane with 30mm cannons, 20mm cannons, and machine guns. So any head-on attack with like for example this FW-190 is a bad idea. Just you need to be very careful, pick up your targets carefully, you have to be aware of the situation and the high altitude fighters around, So it's pretty hard to play and hard to get the good result in it if there is a good amount of human players on enemy team. Of course, if you play against bots, you will be able to get very good results. Like you see here, I just intercept this RB-17, but just because he didn't pay attention, he wasn't at full HP, so that I managed to do that. But like in this case here now, he's just simply faster. The RB-17 can go 800 even kilometer per hour, and my maximum speed with my specialization, it's up to 715, which is just, I'm wasting my time now. And risk to be killed basically by a bomber. So I couldn't say that this plane is good in any time. Basically, I was struggling. I didn't have a really good fun from playing it. He has so many limitation, and like you have a heavy fighter which actually not behave like a heavy fighter. Like you can kill the bomber, like in this case here, but the bomber actually literally will have to help you, like in this head-on attacks here. See, and even so, I almost get killed by RB-17. Like you have no armament to engage ground targets, so you cannot flip over the zone like rocket base or command center. Just very limited and very mediocre plane. You can of course reach some good results in it, but it's more rather to incompetence of the enemy or just good amount of bots playing on other side instead of the players. Okay, that would be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please leave the like if you like it and some comments what you think about this plane, and subscribe for future content of course. And that's it. Yeah, thanks for watching and see you guys in the next one. Take care.